The Titanic has offered an unprecedented insight into the ship's final moments. A detailed three-dimensional reconstruction of the wreck reveals engineers worked to keep the lights on even as the vessel sank.
It's like opening a pharaoh's tomb, only this one is 2.5 miles underwater, crushed by a pressure of over 6,000 pounds per square inch. This tomb is the RMS Titanic. An advanced robot was just sent on a mission to explore its most secret chambers. What it captured on its high-definition cameras wasn't just history, it was terrifying. The world is stunned by the images that were beamed up from the abyss. What was hiding in those sealed rooms? The answer is a chilling secret that has been kept in the dark for over 100 years. The 12,000-foot drop. The North Atlantic is, to put it mildly, one of the most unpredictable places on Earth. Hundreds of miles from the nearest coastline, a state-of-the-art research vessel anchors against the churning waves. On board, a team of specialists has gathered for one purpose: to send a machine where no human could ever possibly go. Their target is the RMS Titanic. The wreck lies at a staggering depth of almost 12,500 feet. That's nearly 2.5 miles straight down. It's a place of total, unending darkness and near-freezing temperatures. But the real challenge is the pressure. At that depth, the water exerts a force of over 6,000 pounds per square inch on every surface. It's a force that would instantly crush a human, or even a standard military submarine not built for it. The team is a hand-picked crew of deep-sea archaeologists, marine engineers, and specialized drone pilots. For months, they prepared for this very moment. What many overlooked in past missions is that the outside of the wreck is well documented. We've all seen the pictures of the bow. This mission is different. This one is going inside. The centerpiece of the operation is their robot, a custom-built underwater drone. This machine is a marvel of engineering, worth millions of dollars. Its frame is built from reinforced titanium and specialized composites designed specifically to withstand that bone-crushing pressure. The crew runs its final checks. High-definition cameras, secure. Multi-directional thrusters, responsive. The fiber optic tether, their only lifeline to the machine, secure. The atmosphere in the control room is electric. You see, this isn't just a survey. It's a high-tech expedition into a sealed tomb. The crane carefully lifts the drone the size of a small car and lowers it into the churning, icy water. It vanishes beneath the waves. For the next 2 hours, it's just a long drop. In the control room, the team watches the monitors. First, the bright blue of the surface world fades to a deep indigo, then to a perfect, unending black. The only things visible on the feed are tiny glowing particles drifting past the drone's powerful LED lights. This is marine snow, a constant shower of organic material from the world above. Then, after what feels like an eternity, the sonar pings a massive object below. The ocean floor appears on the monitors, a desolate, pale landscape of silt. But it's not empty. It's a massive debris field stretching for miles, littered with the ghosts of 1912, rusted pieces of metal, broken wood, and hauntingly personal items. A single leather boot sitting upright, a fragment of a porcelain doll, a closed champagne bottle, each one a silent testament to a story that ended right here. And then, a shadow emerges from the gloom. It's a wall of black steel, a phantom ship rising from the seabed. The bow of the Titanic. Even covered in rust and decay, its shape is unmistakable. The control room is silent. The sheer scale of it is breathtaking. The robot's lights glide over the famous railing, now a twisted, fragile perch. The team spends hours mapping the exterior, capturing the famous telemotor where the ship was steered, the massive anchor chains, and the gaping dark hole where the grand staircase's dome used to be. But this is just the appetizer. The real mission, the one that has everyone on edge, is about to begin. The pilot carefully guides the robot toward a breach in the hull, a dark, jagged opening leading into the ship's forgotten heart. The robot was now entering the ship, heading for a place sealed for over a century, a palace at the bottom of the sea. Before it was a grave, the RMS Titanic was a dream. In 1912, it was the largest moving object ever built by man. A floating palace, the absolute pinnacle of luxury and technology. But not all things are what they seem. It was a symbol of human confidence, a monument to the industrial age. Its builders famously claimed it was practically unsinkable thanks to its innovative design, which included 16 watertight compartments. The luxury on board was, frankly, on another level. First-class passengers had sprawling suites, a heated swimming pool, squash courts, a full gymnasium, and dining rooms that rivaled the finest hotels in Paris or London. The centerpiece was the legendary Grand Staircase, a masterpiece of carved oak and gold, lit by a massive, ornate glass dome. But below their feet, in third class, it was a different world. It was crowded and basic, but for the hundreds of immigrants on board, the ship wasn't a hotel. It was a symbol of hope. It was a one-way ticket to a new life in America, an escape from the poverty and rigid class structures of the old world. The maiden voyage began on April 10, 1912, from Southampton, England. For 4 days, it was a smooth, uneventful trip across a strangely calm Atlantic. Then on the freezing, moonless night of April 14th, the lookout spotted it, an iceberg dead ahead. The collision was described by many survivors as just a slight shudder, a gentle bump, but the damage was catastrophic. The iceberg hadn't ripped a giant gash, as many believe. Instead, it had buckled the hull plates below the waterline, popping rivets and opening up a series of small holes along the ship's side. This minor damage was enough to flood 6 of those watertight compartments at once. The ship was designed to float with 4 flooded, not 6. The 2 hours and 40 minutes that followed were pure chaos. The thing nobody tells you is the sheer, unbelievable panic. As the ship's bow dipped lower and lower into the icy water, the crew struggled with the lifeboats. Here's the catch: there weren't enough for everyone, not even close. By law, they only had to carry enough for a fraction of the passengers. Families were torn apart. People made impossible, agonizing choices in the dark. When the ship finally broke in two and the massive stern rose into the air before plunging beneath the waves, more than 1,500 people were lost. They perished in the 28-degree water, a temperature that can stop a human heart in minutes. For 73 years, the Titanic was lost. Many believed it would never be found, swallowed by the mud of the abyssal plain. Then, in 1985, a team led by Dr. Robert Ballard located the wreck using pioneering sonar technology. The first images of the bow, sitting upright and ghostly on the seabed, stunned the entire world. Since then, many expeditions have visited, but here's the problem: most of them stayed outside. The interior is a death trap. It's a collapsing maze of dangling wires, unstable floors, and sharp, rusted metal. It's simply too dangerous for a human-occupied submersible. But it's not too dangerous for this new, agile, and remotely operated robot. The robot was now deep inside, in a place Robert Ballard himself, never dared to go. Mapping the forgotten rooms. As the robot glides into the interior of the ship, the live video feed is chilling. The drone's powerful lights reveal hallways that have been plunged in total darkness for more than 100 years. The water is pitch black. Thick clouds of silt, disturbed by the robot's thrusters, float through the water like smoke, making navigation a nightmare. The pilot has to move inch by inch, relying on sonar and the faint images on the screen. Many people are crazy about the rusticles. These are the bizarre, icicle-like formations of rust that drip from every single metal surface. They look like frozen waterfalls of decay. But the thing nobody tells you is that they are alive. They are, in fact, vast colonies of bacteria. One species discovered here was even named Halomonas titanici. Halomonas titanici. These microbes are literally eating the ship. Scientists estimate they are consuming hundreds of pounds of iron every single day. The Titanic is slowly but surely dissolving. Some parts of the wreck are just gone. Walls have folded like paper. Entire decks have pancaked on top of each other. But in other sections, the preservation is shocking. The near freezing temperatures, the lack of light, and the low oxygen water have created an eerie time capsule. The robot's lights sweep across a first-class cabin. A brass bed frame is still recognizable. A small delicate chandelier, now caked in rust, still hangs from the ceiling. In what was once the opulent Turkish baths, the intricate blue and green tiles are still visible, shimmering in the robot's light. The drone moves toward the heart of the ship, the grand staircase, or rather what's left of it. The magnificent glass dome that once lit the space is gone, leaving a gaping, dark hole that looks up to the blackness above. The staircase itself, the symbol of the ship's elegance, has mostly collapsed and disintegrated. It's just a rusted, tangled framework, a ghost of its former glory. Using advanced laser scanners, the robot begins building a perfect millimeter-accurate 3D model of these spaces. This digital map will allow scientists to walk through the ship's interior without ever leaving their lab. It's the most complete and detailed view of the Titanic's interior ever created. But the mission isn't over. The team wants to push the robot deeper into a section of the ship that was crushed and crumpled on impact, a part of the vessel that was sealed off from the rest of the wreck when it hit the bottom. They navigate the robot down a collapsed companionway, through a tangle of wires, and toward a section of the ship that no one has ever seen since that night. The robot was approaching a sealed doorway, a place that held the ship's darkest secret. What was in the sealed room? The robot moves deeper into the ship, into a section of the crew and third-class quarters that was sealed off by fallen beams and thick layers of mud. To get inside, the pilot has to guide the machine with millimeter precision, weaving it carefully through narrow gaps. In the control room, you could hear a pin drop. The tension was unbearable. One wrong move, and the multi-million-dollar robot is trapped forever. The drone pushes through a narrow gap. The monitors show only darkness and the floating particles of silt. Then, the lights hit a wall. The robot is inside a hidden chamber, a room completely totally untouched since 1912. The scene is hauntingly preserved. Toppled furniture, leather suitcases, their buckles still intact, are scattered across the floor. It looks as if the occupants left in a great hurry. The robot's lights pan slowly across the room, and then they stop. In the far corner, the lights catch something. At first, the team thinks it's just more wreckage, maybe a pile of debris or discarded clothing. The robot moves closer, the image sharpens. In the control room, people gasp. Several operators cover their mouths in shock. One person turns away from the screen, visibly shaken. What they are seeing is unmistakable. It's not debris, it's human remains. The figure is small. The shape of the arms and legs leaves no doubt. It is a child. The skeletal frame is curled on its side, partially covered in silt. And then, as the robot adjusts its camera, the horror deepens. There is another form, right next to the first. A second child. The two small bodies are positioned so closely, it appears they were holding each other in their final moments. For over a century, these two children had been locked in this dark, watery tomb, hidden from the world, their final moment of comfort preserved in the deep. No one spoke. What could they say? This was more than tragic. It was horrifying. But the most terrifying part? The thing that made the team's blood run cold? As the camera panned just a few feet away, it found something else. Half buried in the silt was a single adult-sized leather shoe. The stitching was still faintly visible. It was just one shoe, but its presence told a story that no one wanted to say out loud. The children had not been alone. An adult was with them in that room, but the adult's body was gone. Only the shoe remained. Whispers broke out in the control room as theories began to form. What happened here? Did the adult perish and get swept away by the powerful currents that tore through the ship as it sank, leaving the children behind? Or, and this was the horrifying, unspeakable thought, did the adult leave them? Did they abandon these children in the chaos, making an impossible choice to save themselves, while the children were left trapped below deck to face their end alone? It was a final, terrible moment frozen in time, a story of desperation, fear, and a choice too awful to imagine. The team was stunned. This wasn't history. It was a horror story. The crew knew instantly this footage could never be fully released to the public. A legacy of silence. Back on the surface, in the humming quiet of the control room, no one spoke. The team, seasoned professionals who had seen the deepest, strangest parts of the ocean, stared blankly at their screens. The joystick controlling the remotely operated vehicle, or ROV, was still. Miles below, as the robot slowly backed out of the chamber, its powerful lights clicked off, plunging the tiny, sealed room back into the eternal darkness it had kept for over a century. The machine began its slow, painfully long 2-hour ascent. 2 hours for the team to sit with what they had just witnessed. 2 hours for the full, crushing weight of the implications to settle in. The sonar blip, a tiny ascending dot, was the only sound in the room, a rhythmic counterpoint to the stunned silence. This was no longer a scientific expedition. The data, the measurements, the structural analysis, it all evaporated in an instant. The discovery of those remains changed everything. This was an intrusion. They had become unwilling witnesses to the final, desperate moments of human lives. This was an excavation of a raw human tragedy. Once the ROV was secured on deck and the team was back on solid ground, the real crisis began. The footage was downloaded, secured, and presented to the expedition leaders and the backers of the mission. The ethical fallout was immediate and massive. What exactly is the protocol for finding a tomb? They knew the world was watching. Broadcasters, museums, and historical societies were all waiting, hungry for every second of new footage. But they couldn't just release these images. To put it mildly, it would be a terrible, grotesque violation. It would cause immense, unimaginable pain to the living descendants of the 1,500 souls who were lost. Imagine being a great-grandchild of a Titanic victim, turning on the evening news to see the very thing that haunts your family history played out in high definition. The team argued for days. Some insisted that history in its entirety belonged to the public, that hiding the truth, no matter how grim, was a form of censorship. But the other side, the side that had seen the images firsthand, was resolute. "We cannot," the lead archaeologist reportedly said in a closed-door meeting, "be the ones to inflict this pain. We cannot be the ones to put this into the world." The difficult choice was finally made. The footage of that room would be kept private. The full video file, the digital record of that horrifying discovery, was classified. It was encrypted, duplicated onto a single hard drive, and literally locked in a vault, accessible only by a handful of the project's top directors. For the public, for the historical record, a compromise was reached. They would release two heavily scrutinized still images. One showed a muddy, leather-laced adult shoe resting poignantly beside a piece of debris. The other showed a dark, nondescript corner of the stateroom, giving a sense of the space without revealing its contents. The full video feed, the images of the children, were officially erased from the public-facing record. But secrets like this rarely stay secret. They have a weight of their own. What many overlooked is that someone on the team was deeply, profoundly disturbed by what they saw and by the decision to hide it. Perhaps they felt the world needed to know the true human cost, to see what this exploration truly meant. Weeks later, it began. A single grainy image appeared on a fringe message board dedicated to wreck diving. It was blurry, likely a photo taken of a monitor, but it showed something that didn't look like silt or metal. It was taken down within an hour, but it was too late. It had been screenshotted, shared, and reposted. The rumors exploded. The official expedition team was bombarded with questions. Their response: a cold, corporate no comment on any speculation regarding human remains. This, of course, was the worst possible answer. It was gasoline on a fire. The internet lit up with theories, each one more gruesome than the last, as people tried to piece together what the team was so desperate to hide. The discovery and the subsequent leak has reignited the fiery, decades-old debate. Should we be exploring the Titanic at all? The battle lines were drawn more fiercely than ever. On one side, scientists and historians made a desperate plea for pragmatism. The Titanic, they argued, is a dying artifact. It is literally being consumed. Those iron-eating bacteria, the rusticles covering the hull, are relentless. They are eating half a ton of iron every single day. The decks are collapsing. The famous grand staircase is gone. We are in a race against time, one marine biologist argued. If we do not document every inch of it now, it will be gone forever, reduced to a rust stain on the seabed. It is our duty to history. But on the other side, the voices of the descendants, now armed with this terrible new rumor, rose in horrified protest. It is not an artifact, one prominent descendant group stated in an open letter. It is a grave, a sacred site. Those 1,500 souls are there, sending robots to peer into their final resting places to film their remains. It is not science. It is high-tech grave robbing, plain and simple. This new mission and its terrifying secret discovery has only proven their point. The discovery hasn't settled history. It has only desecrated a tomb. The Titanic's final, most personal secret, the story of those two children and the lone adult shoe that watched over them, remains locked in the deep. It is locked in a physical vault on land, and it is locked in the crushing, silent pressure of the North Atlantic. It serves as a chilling, profound reminder. For all our technology, for all our desire to know, some mysteries may not be for us. Some doors were never meant to be opened. The world may demand answers, but the ocean is very, very good at keeping its secrets. So what do you think? Was the team right to hide the footage of what they found? Or does the world deserve to know the full, terrifying truth of what happened on the Titanic? Let us know below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden stories.